Hey guys, I bought a dinosaur. All right, so I didn't really buy a dinosaur, a whole dinosaur, but let me tell you how this went down and exactly what happened. So I was having a team meeting. At the team meeting, I was like, hey, you guys need to tell them that they need to like and subscribe videos. And they're like, no, you need to tell them that they can just go ahead and join the membership section if they go ahead and look in the video show notes. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then after that part, we're like, listen, we just need to buy coins. Guys, don't buy anything but coins. Coins, paper money, gold, silver, none of this other stuff. We don't need any of this other stuff. And then an old-time customer came in who I've bought a lot of dinosaur stuff from over the years, a lot of fossils and stuff. And he said, hey, I've got the remainder of my stuff. You want to take a look at it and possibly buy it. And, you know, I had to, after my last meeting with the crew here, which was just a couple weeks ago, I went ahead and bought boxes and boxes of dinosaur bones when I had just told everybody, you know, don't buy anything but coins. So, but we're going to take a look around. So all of you guys who are into dinosaur stuff, you can partially mock me and also correct me on any of this. But one of the reasons that I bought this collection of stuff was because this gentleman had been collecting for 25 years or so, and everything he had was very well organized and pictured. And so come on with me along a journey here. We're going to take a look at some dinosaur stuff. And it's funny when you're into coin collecting, the stuff that you end up getting into, really, because people who like old things, and people who collect stuff. So let's take a closer look. All right, so fun stuff here. One of the things that I'm going to run into is that maybe I shouldn't ever try to pronounce the actual species here. But, like I was saying, they're so well organized. He's got them all labeled, where he got them from, the location. And then also, he'll have oftentimes a picture or two of the creature and what it would look like. And so this piece here is really cool because that's actually a tooth, a set of teeth into a jawbone. Looks like some nice big molars. And the funny thing is, all these things that I don't really know a ton about, and yet I know about just from years and years of doing this. Like, you start to recognize things like vertebrae when you see them, and what they're from. Different types of creatures, of course. So mosasaur. The mosasaur was the, I don't know, I want to say out the T-Rex of the water. No, well, maybe you want to call that the megalodon, but you get the idea here. Some of my favorite are things that, are just kind of inexpensive or silly, I'd almost say. This is a fossilized fish. Kind of cool, but I love stuff like this. Also, not a very expensive piece, but, your clamshell, fossil oyster. Just aesthetically very pleasing. You get these little rip-tide pools full of ammonites, stuff like that's cool. More vertebrae. This is a plesiosaur. Oh, possibly this one's possibly a humerus or femur. And then this is really cool. Check this out, turtle shell. Look at the edge of the shell. You can see this was the inside, and this was an edge piece, which is really cool looking. I love all the texture that these guys have. A lot of these end up being put back together. You'll see the splits and stuff. They'll be glued together and stuff like that. So it's not one dinosaur. It's more of, I could have put this together and made one dinosaur. I think that's what they do in museums, right? Just put pieces together. So this guy here is probably a rib piece, sauropod. You get to learn the shape of things. Nice long piece there. That's probably 18 inches long. This one is probably more likely, because it's a little bit thicker, probably a fibula. So the rib pieces, they look like real thin pieces like that. Whereas you're going to look at something more substantial for any type of fibula or tibula type item. More rib pieces. I want to show you this. You see, because the bones were hollow, and oftentimes they'd crystallize through the center. This one's been polished on top. This says it's an allosaur partial tail vertebrae. So if you can think of 1,000 of these lined up to make the tail. And like I said, after seeing enough of these things, you start to learn the shape of what they probably were, the way that they're created with almost a socket on one end and this other end, kind of the flat piece. So this is probably going to be a toe bone. So the toe bones, it's interesting because when you think of a toe, you think of just like, one thing. Of course, if you ever take the time to recognize, of course, it's several bones put together. For whatever reason, some of my least favorite fossils are all the fish ones, probably because I can't say that word, and I'm not going to try. But there are lots and lots of fun stuff. Some of the most popular things that you run into are actually going to be all the fossilized teeth that you run into. This is a jawbone. But, fossilized teeth are real popular. The big fish, you get into those. We'll look at those, some of those a little bit later. They're very, very popular. Of course, smaller fish are pretty cool too. This is going to be fish that are fossilized onto plates. These are popular. People put them up on their walls in their house, and oftentimes have a really, really neat look to them. Yep. Don't worry, someone's just calling about my extended warranty on my car. All right, for whatever reason, the Triceratops is easily my favorite dinosaur. I don't know why. There's no real logical reason to it. But these pieces here should be a part of the frill, which is going to be that big plate piece that's going to be on the outside of the skull. I'm pointing to it without filming it, that piece. Here you have a piece that should be a toe piece. Also pretty substantial size. This is more of a frill, all the frills. Yeah, I find that stuff really fascinating. Really cool stuff. For whatever reason, like I was saying, I'm not as big into, well, there's lots of these. What I think a lot of people aren't into is a lot of the plant eaters. So you start seeing anything that's going to be, more of a plant eater for whatever reason. I just think those aren't as popular, but, they like sharp teeth instead of like dull teeth. That's a jawbone. Hyracodone, it sounds like a drug. We see there's a ton of crocodile stuff and plants and sea animals that you run into, these different crinoids and stuff like this that you see a lot of. And if you've never been to the gem show in Tucson, I mean, you just see this stuff in spades. So if you like this stuff, there's the world's largest gem and mineral show and fossil show is in Tucson annually, and it's been here for 40 plus years. So here's some more, a lower molar and bone. But the size of this stuff is the stuff that's always really incredible. Look at this guy here. Really cool. Got the jawbone and you got the big molar growing out of it. All right, we're going to move along here. I think I'm going to get past a lot of this sea creature stuff like I was talking about. We're going to move on to some more fun stuff up here. When you start seeing larger pieces, of course, trilobites, super popular. They popped open like geodes. You can see this is two half pieces that fit together. And then here, of course, you have what's some type of a limb bone. Also, your dinosaur bones were hollow. Mammal bones are hollow. And if I say anything wrong, I know I'll be corrected. And here you can talk about how popular teeth become when you look at this giant mosasaur tooth and root. Kind of a beautiful thing, right? So The teeth from the sea are real popular because they're generally not too expensive. Maybe that first piece is an exception because it's really nice. And then you see a cool jaw piece. Look at these guys. Well, there's such a variety. You look at how long that jaw was with those sharp, pointy teeth. It had big, sharp, pointy teeth. You know, and then of course you get into the megalodon, which was the size of a school bus. It could just swallow people whole. This one's chipped, but it's a nice size. And then that's a smaller one. And then more of the vertebrate stuff. So these, you'll find huge formations of all this stuff. Not as rare. But teeth in general are real popular. So once you especially get into the more of the carnivores, people like the sharp teeth. I'm really fond of stuff like this where you can actually see the serrations on the top and the bottom of the tooth. Now that's a cool piece. Stuff like that is really neat. Spinosaur tooth, and you can see, you know, once again repairs as there's cracks all the way across. That stuff have been kind of glued back together, sometimes filled in. And by the way, if you just see this stuff lying around on the internet, it's half of it's fake. So you got to be careful and look for, you know, things like, you know, does it actually look like crystallized rock on the ends? The ends are oftentimes a way to tell. And then there's some bigger pieces here. We got a vertebrae of an ichthyosaur. Imagine how big these fish were. This is a smaller piece, but they got huge. This mammoth vertebrae, which is probably 10 inches tall from top to bottom here. One of the things that's not as rare, but I find really, really appealing, are these fossil leaves and stems. For those of you who watch a lot of the videos, I've got videos where I shoot, and I've got the big placard in the background, the big poster full of Roman coins or Greek coins. And then I've got this big green thing behind me. It's a fossilized palm frond, and it's really cool because it's in a nice piece of rock just like this, and just aesthetically beautiful. All right, here's a piece of a mammoth tusk, which is amongst my favorite pieces here. See, that thing was hollow through and through. That's a neat piece. I got a few more of my pieces, some of my favorite pieces here. Some of the biggest pieces are here at the end. Part of a sauropod vertebrae, and I can't really get a full, it's hard to get the full feel for how big that thing is, but it's pretty big. You're talking again about something that's, you know, probably 10 inches across and 8 inches tall. You know, it's not complete. You can see it's about 2/3 of the piece. It's kind of shaved off on both sides here, but it would keep going, and it's just a big old heavy piece. It's been cut. You can see the formation where it was hollow in the middle. So I realized that my hands aren't strong enough to pick up solid rocks with one hand because I'm so used to picking up little coins. Oh, back to my favorite here. We got this Triceratops, and of course, you want to watch out here because I'm not going to try to say those words. But basically, this would be the back of the skull plate. And then you can see here they kind of have a picture of it. Well, it looks like that piece would attach to some muscle that would help control the entire head. You see that round ball that the red piece comes up to? So this is one of my favorite pieces. Maybe I'll keep that. These little fish are always cool, but this one especially. This one's hard to see, you know, hard to make out, but it's cool because this is a shrimp. See the butt end, and this is a fish, and you can see that it was like the shrimp was like eating the fish. And when it got crushed in a tide pool. This is nowhere near as cool if you know, compared to if you had someone who was actually really knowledgeable on this stuff. This is a vertebrae, also Triceratops, also for whatever reason I think is pretty cool. One of the bigger mammoth teeth that I've had, this is a tooth. I think this is root down this way. And the top of the it's like a molar. Look at the size of that. That's one tooth. These guys are huge. Huge. Triceratops jaw and root. So this is the edge of the jawbone, and that's a piece of like tooth sticking up like that. So that'd be like a cross section of the jawbone and the tooth sticking up. All right, and last but not least, I got a couple other pieces here. Also, more of a, like I said, you start to learn the shape of these things and get a feel for what they are. This one also a toe bone, hadrosaur. The hadrosaur, you know, look at those toes. Looks like they wore high heels. I think I've insulted every last paleontologist ever. And then finally, so this is a the Edmontosaur. This is the duckbill, I think some people call them in the vernacular. This one's really wild because he was showing me how this one goes together, and then the teeth were actually fit into those grooves. Those little teeth there would actually lay in these grooves. So they had a really small grooves for all those little teeth to fit inside of. So anyway, there we go, guys. I bought a dinosaur. Leave your comments, your feedback. Let me know what you think. For those of you who know a lot about dinosaurs, if you want to add to anything that I said, please leave comments. Obviously, I'm not an expert on this stuff, but just enough to get myself in trouble, and just enough to get my crew in trouble, who I said just buy coins. And then I did all of this stuff. So, all right, thanks so much for watching. I'm Ben the Coin Geek. You can subscribe by clicking on the button in the corner and watch more videos on the right side of the screen. Thanks.